Good evening, Warhammer YouTubers. It's Hooves of Doom, and I thought I would do another army review. I haven't done one of these in quite some time, ever since I guess Slanesh Demons, and I've done my Beastmen, the Orcs, the Vampire Counts, but I'm trying my best to present painted armies. I got loads and loads of armies, loads and loads of models, but I'm only going to present the ones that I feel are worth presenting because they're visually entertaining to kind of look at. So this is my Wanderer or former Wood Elf army, and it's what I've built up over the last 6 months. I started this in, I guess, September. Actually, I guess the first month would have been October of 2015. And so this was through the budget of Sigmar. And so the idea was that we would have $50 a month to build up an army. And over 6 months, you'd build a coherent force. And so, the big Treant Adurthu was 1 month, and then I split up like 1 unit of Glade Guard with a character for 2 months, and then 10 Eternal Guard and a few Way Watchers. I did that for 2 months, and then finished it off with the Sisters of the Thorn and a remaining character. I love the army. It's probably my best painted army that I've done since I really started painting in earnest back in July of 2015. I've been in the hobby since probably about 97 or 98, but I was never much of a painter. So I'm now finally getting there. I'm coming up on my 1-year anniversary of painting virtually every single day, and which is great. So I started to buy this army in 2014, and so I bought the Spellweaver and the Glade Guard then, and I incorporated into the budget of Sigmar because you can basically quote unquote purchase models which you already had and use them as part of the budget if you had an idea of how much you paid. And I bought a couple units of Glade Guard and a character aren't anything in 8th. It was more of a token gesture. This was, I believe, the last fantasy army I did not own. And so buying that was just kind of a way for me to say, yep, I have some Wood Elves as part of my collection. Not a real army, of course, but it kind of just counted in my mind as someone that likes to have all the armies. So it was a long process. Obviously, I have models that are much, much older that are not painted. So it's kind of weird to kind of get to the Glade Guard first. But when I decided to do this army as budget of Sigmar, I wanted something that is different than what I already possess. And all the other painted armies that I've been playing with, the Beastmen, the Demons, the Vampire Counts, or they're all evil armies. So to paint this was kind of a nice new look, and they certainly have a nice contrast on the table. Very shortly, my Tomb King army will be finished, and I'll probably do a video on that. All these armies, even as I go through and make these videos, they're really kind of a work in progress. I'm choosing my projects based upon a series of random charts. If you've watched some of my videos, you're going to know that. So it's possible I could come back to these Wanderers, in the near future. But it's probably like a 1 in 24 chance or something. So it probably won't happen for a while. But at this point, it's through the transition to Age of Sigmar. There's a number of discontinued models. The Way Watchers. The Way Watcher Lord, as he was, is simply a Way Watcher now. but the generic Waywatcher models, those are no longer part of the model line. The Spellweaver, that particular model, I don't think is part of the line now either. The Glade Lord is now a Way Strider, as I recently talked about. And even Durthu himself, the big model in the middle, that is, I don't think, part of the line either. You can still build him because he's part of the Tree Lord kit, but I don't think he's part of the current Age of Sigmar fluff. So that means it's a little bit interesting. And going forward, if I make future expansions to this army, one thing I would probably go for are some Wildwood Rangers. I need a little bit more melee troops. And Sisters of the Watch. They're the Sisters of Avalorn. Is that what they were called? There used to be a High Elf unit, but they've now been transitioned over to these new Wanderer faction. Those seem really good. So yeah, I mean, I love this army. I'm very happy with it. So you can see in this picture the Eternal Guard that I did. Those things are fairly good on the tabletop. If you use their ability, then they gain +1 to hit and +1 to wound, and they get a better armor save. They're really more of a unit you want to get in position and then pretty much not move the rest of the game. And if you position them right in a piece of terrain or something like that, they're really hard to kill, especially if you have some magical mystical shield or something like that on them. And so you see the unit of Sisters of the Thorn that I recently finished last week. And the Spellweaver, which I finished her, must have been about November or so. And then you have the unit of Waywatchers with the Waywatcher Lord right in the middle. I mean, these units are all still very playable. In the back of all these pictures, you can see the Glade Guard. I was talking to Andrew Starr about the Glade Guard because they're not a particularly great unit. They hit on 4s, wound on 4s, 1 shot apiece. So the Sisters of the Watch are far better ranged unit. But they have an interesting ability. Well, certainly if you have over 20 in the unit, and I was always thinking of playing them as 2 units of 16 because that's what you buy, and I have 2 commands. But I think I'll probably combine them into one bigger unit because then they hit on 3s, and that little bit really helps. But they have an interesting ability once per game in which they can subtract rend, or rather, they have 1 round in which they can shoot in which they have rend. And I believe in the Legacy Scrolls when Age of Sigmar launched, it was a -2. And now it's a -3. So most of the game their shooting's not going to be exceptionally effective. But that once per game ability is actually fairly nice. At -3s is really good in Age of Sigmar. So if you have a unit of 30 of these guys, or girls, because they're actually a combined unit, they have male and female models. With 30, they're going to hit 20 times and wound 10. And 10 wounds at -3 will pretty much knock out, anything in the game or really hurt anything big. So the last model is a close-up on Durthu. I love this guy. He's probably my best painted model that I've ever done. Very happy with how he turned out. And I followed the GW tutorial. I painted this guy in like 4 or 5 days. And absolutely loved it. So that's the Wanderer army as it is right now. And we'll see what I work on in future projects. Like I said, I have Tomb Kings coming up, and after that, it's a month or two of Imperial Guard, and then I'm on to the what used to be the Empire for Age of Sigmar, and that will be probably a month or two as well. Um, but I'll be moving actually, I think, at the end of June, so I'll have to do a channel update. Anyways, hope you liked looking at the Wanderers, and have a good one.